25-year career. And Channel 4's Italian match tomorrow afternoon is Bologna against Milan. On to cricket, and the Sri Lankan team are threatening to pull out of their tour of Australia after Muttiah Mullarathiran, their prodigious spinner, was no-balled in their one-day game with England. There's already been controversy about his bowling action. England's coach David Lloyd almost lost his job for raising doubts about it last summer, even though the game's authorities had previously given it the OK. Have a look for yourself.
This is the ball that umpire Ross Emerson called as a no-ball because Mullarathiran's arm was bent. The laws state a bowler's arm must be straight, otherwise it's known as chucking. Now clearly the Sri Lankan spinner's arm is bent, but that's because he has a damaged elbow that he can't straighten, and his action has been approved by the game's governing body. Sri Lanka's captain argued with Emerson before taking his team off for 15 minutes in protest. When play resumed, England rattled up the runs. Graham Hicks scoring 126 not out, their total 302. England fielded like furies too, Neil Fairbrother getting this run out. But they couldn't stem the tide of runs by Sri Lanka, and it was their last batsman, that man Mullarathiran, who hit the winning run. But it's his bowling that's the problem.
Rugby Union and London Irish continue their climb up the table with a victory at Harlequins. This interception and try by Darren O'Leary wasn't enough to save the Quins, who lost both Zinzan Brooke and Thierry Lacroix to injury during the game. This superb run from Niall Woods set up the Exiles' third try. Justin Bishop was eventually on the end of the pass. London Irish then held on to their 12-point lead until Peter Mensah scored a consolation try in injury time. Harlequins 17, London Irish 22. Leicester stay top of English rugby's premiership, 2 tries from Canadian wing David Lockheed, helping them to a 23-16 win over Gloucester. London Scottish, whose fate as a professional club is still in doubt due to the threatened takeover by Bristol, suffered a further reverse at Richmond, conceding 6 tries as they lost 40-22. Racing, and the race of the day at Kempton Park was the £20,000 Victor Chandler Chase. Twice postponed because of bad weather, it was well worth waiting for, with the favourite Get Real clearing the last on level terms with the grey Cool Equinane.
There's very little to choose between them. Cool Equinane just with his nose in front from Get Real. Close home. Cool Equinane wins the Victor Chandler.
The rest of the results on teletext from page 570. Finally, tennis, and in the Australian Open in Melbourne, the defending champion Peter Korda has been beaten by 15th seed Todd Martin in a gruelling 5-set match. Korda said he'd just beaten by the better player. It was a good day for Russian tennis star Anna Kournikova. She only served 14 double faults. So for this year, the 18-year-old has racked up an incredible 105 double faults in 5 games. That's it for the sport. John.
Thank you, Sue. Now back to our main report, the Olympic bribery scandal. Well, senior IOC executive board members have been carrying out a full-scale corruption hearing all day in Lausanne. Kevin Gosper, an Australian member of the IOC, has just come out of that meeting, joins us live from Lausanne. Kevin Gosper, are we going to see heads roll, and if so, how many?
John, just let me say that I haven't come out of the meeting. I'm not part of that inquiry commission. I'll be sitting around the table at the executive board tomorrow to debate the outcome of that commission. There have been 6 people appear before the commission during the day, and already, as you know, we've had 2 members resign earlier this week. The commission will probably meet until late this evening, complete their report, and we'll start our work tomorrow morning, hoping to come out with a final conclusion late tomorrow afternoon.
Well, now, is the job of the president of the IOC, Mr. Samaranch, on the line?
Not at all. Why should it be on the line? We're going through a pretty difficult time, we certainly admit to that, and the reputation's taken a real dent, but you don't discard a top leader when you're going through bad times. You keep him, and he's there, and he's very much in control.
But when you have 10% of the people who make the key decisions under a very serious cloud of corruption allegation, and some of them proven, surely somebody has to take the can for that, and that's usually the top boss.
Not in every case. I think the important thing is to have the top man see you through a difficult period. And the 10% that you're referring to that are being involved in the discussions are part of the committee. They're not of the executive board. So I wouldn't be too gloomy about it. Let's see what happens tomorrow night. And in the meantime, Juan Antonio Samaranch has got the full support of his executive board and the session that put him in place in Moscow in 1980.
But we have a staggering picture here of the Norwegians, the Swiss, the Australians, the British, the Turkish, all coming forward with evidence of serious malpractice and corruption. And yet there doesn't seem to be any call for the leadership of this organisation quite simply to go.
Well, there's plenty of call for it, but you know, people look for heads to roll in any circumstance, and it doesn't take much effort for anybody to come out of the woodwork and complain about things of the past when they've been losers. Now, we've heard all these rumours before, you know that. We've investigated in discussions, but there's been no substantial evidence. We've got it this time on Salt Lake City, and we've moved to examine it quickly. It's marvellously easy for people to come out and criticise us, and we have to cop that. But we're dealing with facts, and we'll come out with a conclusion tomorrow night on those facts.
Well, you've been somebody very much noted as a possible successor to Mr. Samaranch, one of the upper echelon of those who might contend for that position. Are you not in danger by backing him so firmly of more or less tying yourself to the same fate that awaits him?
That's an interesting question, John, but you know, I'm really not preoccupied with myself or the succession at the moment. My preoccupation is seeing the organisation through to recovering from our current problem, and I'm part of the team to do that. This is hardly the time to be debating my future or the future of the leadership of the IOC. You don't split an organisation as you're going through a tough time, you keep it together. Very simple principle. I grew up in sport. You know about that. You don't start breaking the team up when you're going through a problem. How
long do we tolerate what you call a difficult period before there is an outcome and before we have to look at the leadership?
I think that it's a fair question to say how long should we put up with a period of going through a difficult time. We moved quickly to investigate when we had the information in December, quicker than any of the other 4 groups that came together in the investigation. We'll come up with our conclusions by tomorrow, and we'll have taken firm decisions. We'll tell you tomorrow what the procedure will be for the decision on the 2006 Winter Games, and I believe we'll come up with some advice on what structures we'll put in place to recover our reputation. In the meantime, we'll get the focus back onto the Olympic Games and the athletes where it should be.
Kevin Gosper, I'm very grateful to you for talking with us.
Thanks, John. Thanks for your questions.
Thank you. When we come back, changing Britain's political landscape and the dream of a grand centrist alliance with its 2 main strategies gone, does the LibLab Pact project have a future anymore?
Right now at Lung Poly, you can get £100 off per couple